For this assignment, I have chosen the final song from Hamilton the musical, Who Lives, Who Dies, Who Tells Your Story? I chose this song because I find it to be the most impactful song from the whole entire musical, and I feel it highlights the importance of women throughout history. The whole song follows what Hamilton's wife Eliza did in the 50 years after his passing. In those 5 decades before her death in 1857, she worked to ensure her husband's legacy wouldn't be forgotten, as well as establishing New York's first private orphanage. The song is somber but not necessarily sad, although Eliza is grieving her husband's death at the start. It almost has the feel of a love song, but written about her life and actions as a widow. I think it evokes a feeling of pride in the listener. After all she's lost, she continues to do what's right. The repeated line and title of the song, Who Lives, Who Dies, Who Tells Your Story, is very representative of what Eliza's life became after her husband passed away. She dedicated her life to preserving Alexander's reputation and documenting the actions of the founding fathers. This line is sung by several other characters from her and her husband's life, as well as lines highlighting the impact that Hamilton had on history, though his political enemies are hesitant to compliment him. Throughout the musical, Lin-Manuel Miranda acknowledges women's work and support behind the scenes. An example of this being that they mention Angelica advising Hamilton's political actions in the letters the two regularly exchanged. Earlier, Washington urges Hamilton to dedicate his life to other things as well as fighting, using the phrase, "Dying is easy, son, living is harder." This is echoed a few times at points where Alexander is putting his legacy ahead of his personal life. When Eliza says, "I stop wasting time on tears, I live another 50 years, she's showing that she is stronger in some ways than the men she outlived, because she chooses the harder way in living a long life. In History Has Its Eyes on You, Washington urges caution to Hamilton again, and we hear the first inclusion of the phrase, "You have no control, who lives, who dies, who tells your story." Without Eliza, Alexander wouldn't have the same legacy. It is clear he is lucky that the person who lived is one who wanted a good legacy for him. Halfway through the song, we get a beautiful moment where Eliza begins to panic and doubt that her efforts on behalf of her husband have been enough, singing lines like, "And when my time is up, have I done enough? Will they tell your story?" The music swells intensely, reflecting her anxiety, only to fizzle out as she gasps, remembering her proudest achievement, the orphanage. I find it interesting that only towards the end of the song does she mention her own accomplishments, once again putting Alexander's reputation and story before her own. The lighting throughout most of the song is blue. This is Eliza's colour, though throughout the musical in other songs blue lighting is repeatedly used to represent feelings of anxiety, panic, sadness and even grief. On the rotating stage is the entire cast of characters, symbolising Eliza's life flashing before her eyes on her deathbed, as she is greeted in turn by the figures from her life, who mostly sing about what she did for them. The white costumes the cast are almost all wearing now could be symbolising the concept of heaven. Lin-Manuel Miranda does an excellent job at representing these historical figures as real people and giving them the humanity we struggle to see in history books. The entire cast gives an emotional performance, believably expressing their characters' passions and hardships. In conclusion, this song is the perfect ending, encapsulating all that Lin set out to. He didn't just write a song about the founding fathers, he also wrote about the many women who worked behind the scenes to get them where they were, and yet he still managed to keep it an enjoyable and aesthetically pleasing piece to watch. All in all, I love the musical and I love this song specifically. I hope you enjoyed my review, and that's all.